Hello and welcome everyone to Natural Grocer's Nutrition Education presentation. We are pleased to introduce Juliet Welsh. Juliet is a certified health coach, and today she'll be discussing how to kick the sugar habit, teaching us 7 solutions to sugar cravings. Welcome, Juliet.
Hi, my name is Juliet Welsh, and I'm a health and life coach. And today I'm going to talk about how to beat that sugar habit. So I'm going to go ahead and start by sharing my slides so that we can begin the presentation. So just give me 1 second. So this presentation is going to talk about 7 solutions to sugar cravings. So let's first start with an open brainstorm. So what is your go-to sugar? My go-to sugar are chocolate almonds. That is my favorite go-to sugar, especially when I'm having a bad day. So what is it that you reach for? The topics for today are going to be what sugar does in your body, why we start craving and can't stop, and how to transform sugar cravings. And so you can see there's a picture of my cat. She is on a sugar crash. So we're going to start with my story. I have a before and after picture. So today I'm in my best body. I have great posture. I love my life and I can eat whatever I want. So I don't have to cut the sweetness out of my life. But it wasn't always this way. So previously, I was eating pretty much everything I wanted for a little while, and I was reaching for food while I was under stress. So if I had a client that had a request that was difficult, then I'd find myself reaching for potato chips, and then I'd alternate to chocolate almonds. And then I was like, I need something salty again. So I'd reach for more potato chips, and I'd go back and forth on that. The problem is that I developed food allergies and food sensitivities because I was always eating under stress. And so this was really hard for me because I could no longer eat the sugar. I couldn't eat soy. I couldn't eat dairy. I couldn't eat gluten. The list was really long. It was like 30 items. They were my beloved foods, all the foods that I really enjoyed eating, especially the ones that I went to when I was under stress. So this was very difficult. This was a really hard time in my life because I didn't have any support with that. You go into work and everybody's ordering food and you can't order with them anymore. I had to make everything from scratch. So now my food routine went from, maybe 30 minutes to 2 to 3 hours a day. So it was a lot of work. I didn't really know what to do next. I just remember being so alone and feeling so down. Food was my support and my comfort, and I didn't have that anymore. So I started working on a system on how to really cut my cravings once and for all. And I wasn't really sure if it was going to work, but I trusted it and I followed through in a way that I never had before. And so as I started to see success in my life, then I started to share my program with others and really help them have success in their life. So today, my goal is to help you connect the dots and show you exactly how you can do this, no matter how far off you've fallen off of track. So you know you're in the right place if you're wondering why you crave sugar at certain times. You're done reinventing the wheel and you just want someone to tell you what works and what doesn't for real. You want to discover what is keeping you stuck so you can get unstuck. And you're ready to finally get this sugar and food thing handled so that you can allow your best self to shine. So today I'm going to show you how to kick the sugar habit without giving up sweetness so that you can experience a total transformation in your best body, your best moods, and your best life. So earlier we saw a picture of my cat on her sugar crash. Now here she is with all her energy being mischievous. So we're going to first start with your 3 main challenges. Now, regular nutritionists will talk about calories and grams of fat, and that is important to focus on, but that's not the only place to focus. So as a health coach, it's one of the areas I look at, but there are some things to consider. So we're going to look at challenge number 1. The first challenge is wondering why the heck you have these sugar cravings in the first place, why they feel so out of control, and what to do about it. So let's solve that mystery. So your challenge number 1 is that there is a polarity of food. And so polarities are actually opposites. So you can think of polarities, for example, common polarities are hot, cold, yin, yang, and they can go on. There's so many. But there's a polarity of food that we often don't recognize. There are expansive bliss foods and contracted tension foods. So your expansive bliss foods are alcohol, caffeine, dairy, sugar, and to some extent fruit. And these are the foods that kind of make you feel a little lighthearted and spacey. If you have too many, you might be a little spacey. Now, your contracted tension foods are your salt, your eggs, and your red meat. They're the ones that kind of keep you grounded. But if you have too many, they might actually make you agitated. So another concept to consider is the fact that we have contractive activities as well. So if I'm working too much, or I'm exercising too much, or I'm partying too much, that's a lot of contractive activities. And so sometimes my body is going to try to search for balance. So one of the things our bodies does is it's always searching for balance. So because I've had too many contractive activities, it's going to look for some expansion. Now, the first thing that I think about when I'm looking for that expansive bliss is food. I'm going to reach for my red wine or my chocolate when my body is actually craving for some relaxation or some quiet time. And so that is one thing to consider. Can you think of a moment when you reach for sweets after a long day of work or contractive activities? I think we've all done it, right? If you had a really bad day at work and you're like, I'm going to have a glass of wine tonight. Or you know what? I'm going to get a big meal, have a big dessert. I'm going to treat myself tonight because I deserve it. Today was so bad. So that was challenge number one, that there is a polarity. There's a polarity in your foods and there's a polarity in your activities. And so one of the things to remember back to is my example where I would switch and alternate back from potato chips to chocolate. So it was actually the whole time my body is trying to find balance. I have those contracted foods, I have the expansive foods, contractive, expansive. And really, I probably didn't need food at all in the first place. I probably needed a little bit of a break, probably needed to step away from my computer for a little bit. So that was challenge number one. Now, challenge number two is why does it feel so good? So we're going to talk about what is happening in your body when you eat sugar and why we experience that awesome high. So there are three components that our body needs when absorbing sugar and just kind of keeping you sane throughout the day. So those are your fat, your fiber, and your protein. So if they're not present in your system, then your blood sugar is going to shoot way up. And so one of the things that's important to note is that your brain uses about 50% of your blood sugar at any given time. So any drastic change is going to send it into a state of emergency. And what does your body do at that point? Well, your pancreas secretes the hormone insulin to bring your blood sugar back down. Now, the problem is that our body has gotten really good at this, too good at this, because we have been used to eating processed foods. Our body actually secretes too much insulin. So when that happens, we're starting to go on that sugar crash. It's trying to bring us down and it brings us way down. So when you drop all the way down, I'm curious, what do you think your body craves? More sugar. And so this is one of the reasons that we start eating sugar and literally can't stop, and we crave it constantly. So your body is just trying to find balance. But if we keep on eating the sugar, then we stay on that crazy roller coaster. And the roller coaster is what leads to extra diseases. So you can have diabetes, you can affect your mood, you can have weight gain, or in my case, I developed food allergies and food sensitivities. There are three places it takes the sugar. After the hormone insulin is set out to take the excess sugar out of the bloodstream, it goes to your brain, your blood cells, or your muscles. But if all of those receptors are full, because you've been eating a lot of sugar, where does the excess sugar go? It's stored as fat. And so if it's stored as fat, you're probably not able to also release your fat to be burned. And this is because the sugar blocks the glucagon production. And so the glucagon production it's for like a simple way of explaining it, it's kind of the opposite of what insulin does. Insulin comes in to bring your blood sugar down, and the glucagon is trying not to let your blood sugar get too low. And so that process is actually hindered. Other things that we may not actually recognize is that there is an emotional roller coaster. There is an emotional impact. And so I included a picture of me on a sugar high. I am right there clearly enjoying a birthday party, and you can tell on my face that I am on a sugar high. So have you had a time where sugar affected your emotions? And this is a difficult one because it's not always that easy to backtrack and to realize that sometimes a moody outburst was actually due to that whole sugar roller coaster that we were on. So now we're on to challenge number 3. Challenge number 3 to me is one of the most common things that I run into. It was my case that sometimes we're reaching for sugar because we're not happy in an area of our life. And you can see, I have an example. This is an exaggerated example, insert boss's face in the punching bag, but I wasn't happy with my work. I wasn't doing what I was meant to be doing. And so I didn't know how to work through that. Now, it's not only my experience. Like I said, a lot of people experience this. So I'm going to give you an example of one of my clients. So she started this Kick the Sugar program with me. And we first started just by kind of having an idea of how much sugar she was taking in. So she was able to quantify it by telling me that she had about 10 chocolates a day. Now, on really bad days, she'd have a really big cookie. And this was on top of the 10 chocolates. And then there were some days where she also found herself just impulsively at the drive-thru of Taco Bell. And she didn't like that. I mean, it was okay if she had, planned on going to Taco Bell all day, but when she just found herself just, veering off and going to the drive-thru, she didn't like that. She wanted control over that. And that's an important thing to note because one of the things that I work with my clients on is not taking the sweetness out of their life. We're not depriving you. That's not going to help you cut the sugar out of your life or reduce it, whatever your goal is. What we were working on is having these intentional choices so that when she was reaching for sugar, it was a choice she had made when she wanted to. It was an intentional choice. So she knew she brought sugar on purpose to work. It wasn't something that she, found herself like unable to stop and she had to go to the vending machine and get it because of a stressful moment. So that's just important to note. Now, after the 90 days, she went down to only eating chocolate when she felt like it. And it was only about 2 chocolates a day. She no longer needed that big cookie. And she was so pleased to find that she wasn't impulsively finding herself in a drive-through window. What the bonus of cutting sugar habits or just some of these food habits is that it actually gives you the energy to focus on other areas of your life. Like she naturally just started to improve in her relationship and her work relationship because she was able to focus there. If you're having to fight your body constantly because of the energy drop and then the sugar high and then the drop again, you're not able to focus on the things that you want to focus on, your creative pursuits or the relationships that really matter. And so that is one of the bonuses of really cutting this habit once and for all. So one question I'd like to pose to you is, what if cravings can be used as messengers? And so they're telling you that something needs to be in balance. I love this because I'm still thinking about sugar from time to time. Sometimes I have a really contracted day. And my first thought is, I'd really like a bag of candy. But I now know that cravings aren't bad. I can use that as a helpful message. Something that tells me like, hey, you need to stop. You might need a break. Have you stepped away from the computer today? So I would urge you to use that. The next time you find yourself reaching for sugar, you might ask yourself, what message is my body trying to tell me? What may need some balance here? What am I doing too much of? And I might need a little bit more of something else. Now, we've talked about what's happening in your body and why you're having these cravings. Now we're going to move into how to solve your sugar cravings. So 7 solutions that we're going to discuss. We're going to start with number 1, to check your beverages. Now, I love this one. I would say this is my most common, effective way to cut sugar cravings. Oftentimes, I'm dehydrated. So I'll give you an example. I was playing tennis with a friend, and all of a sudden, I had this craving for soda. Now, that was kind of weird for me because I don't generally drink soda. So I told my friend, I was like, I'm really craving soda right now. And he was like, are you craving the sugar? Or are you craving the carbonation? Now, it's kind of funny that he asked that. He's someone that really loves to drink those carbonated waters. So that's one of the things he craves. And I was like, funnily enough, I'm craving syrup. And that's just really weird for me. But the minute I said that, I realized I was dehydrated. So I started drinking water and I no longer needed the sugar. So I would definitely urge you that once you start thinking about sugar, that you drink some water and see if that helps. Number 2 is to satisfy your sweet tooth with sweet veggies, fruits, and spices. We do have sweet taste buds, and we don't want to deprive them. So I have a list on the slide of some things that you could do. And I do know some friends that really love to bake a bunch of sweet potatoes in advance, and then they maybe cut them in half and wrap them up, and they leave them in the fridge. So when they have that sweet craving, they can reach for that sweet potato, and that's a healthier choice for them rather than reaching for candy because they've made the choice to not have candy in that moment. Number 3 is sleep. So I'm sure you noticed that most of the times when you are deprived of sleep, your body is searching for energy. Now, you might try to complement that with coffee, but sometimes we use sugar or food. We're trying to find some sort of way to get that energy. So what I would urge you to do is look at your sleep habits. A good thing to do is to power down an hour early. And so you'll start to kind of turn the lights off, disconnect from some of the devices that you may be in front of. Number 4 is to check your protein. Too much or too little animal protein can cause massive sweet cravings. And so in my coaching practice, this is one of the first things that we start with is we find what your optimal amount of protein is for you, because everybody's body is different. Now, I find this to be really common for people who decide that they're going to go vegan. And so if they make that change too drastically, they may start to have sweet cravings. So it's just something to make note of if you're making those types of changes in your diet. Number 5 is to sniff out the low fat and zero fat free foods. Now, you can see that I have 2 examples here. They're the same brand and the same flavor, but the fat free actually has more sugar. It shows 10%, where the other one says 6%. And so this isn't always the case for all products, but one of the things that I would urge you to do is to look at the ingredients, because often when a product is trying to give you low fat or zero fat, they're going to replace the fat with something. And so I just want you to look in case sugar is the ingredient they use. That gives you the opportunity to look at the ingredients and make an intentional choice. Because if you don't want to be adding that extra sugar, then you would want to know that. 6 is to move yourself. Movement is another kind of food for your body. It releases stress, it makes you feel and look great. And when you don't get enough, then you're probably going to start reaching for sugar or having different cravings. Number 7 is to create new post-meal rituals. If you are a dessert after your meal type of person, it might actually be the ritual that you are looking for. So one of the rituals that I like to do is to brush my teeth. And I'll give you an example. So you know how when you eat a meal that you thought was kind of good, but then by the time you walk away, you kind of feel unsatisfied, like the taste is lingering in your mouth and you don't really like that taste. Now you have to replace that taste with something sweet. Well, if I'm really already kind of feeling full, and the only reason why I want to have something sweet is because I'm trying to cover up that taste, then toothpaste is a really great option. So, if you don't feel 100% confident that you can walk away and kick the sugar once and for all, then there are 3 ingredients that really help when you're trying to change a habit. And those 3 ingredients are the right system, the right support, and the right accountability. So in my program, I do give people that support, that system, and the right accountability. I really want you just to invite you to be open to the possibility that this time it can really be different. Really, my passion with helping people is for 2 things. One is if they really don't want to be as impulsive as I was, reaching for food under stress, and they want to make that change, I want to help them with that because I know how to do it. I've done it. Also, if they have maybe already done that to the point where they've developed their own health issues like food allergies and food sensitivities, and they're looking for that support, because I know how lonely that journey is, how hard it is to cut out a bunch of foods just right off the bat, I can help people with that. And so I'm just inviting you to be curious and see how this is an opportunity to see how healthy you can be without having to cut out the sweetness altogether. So if you're looking to work with me, those are the two types of people I work with. People who want to really cut their sugar habit before they develop a health issue, or those that have already found that a doctor has told them that they need to cut out certain foods in their diet so that they can be healthy. So I support people on that journey, and you can reach me by email if you'd like to set up a free consult. You can check out my website, or you can find me on Facebook. And so what I would end this presentation with is two things. I would say that if you walked away and you're like, what did I get from that presentation? I would look for one of the 7 things that you thought you would like to implement to see if that helps you cut your sugar cravings. And the other thing that I would say is to start looking at cravings as messengers. Messengers that something might need attention, that your body is looking for balance. And instead of like looking at cravings as a bad thing. And so that's all I have for you today. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Juliet, for this presentation, and thank you all for watching. Please be sure to subscribe to our channel and watch for more presentations from Natural Grocers. Thank you.